Howdy out there, Dave Duford at davidduford.com. Hope you're doing well. Today I've got a question from an agent regarding how do you address when a client or a prospect is wanting free insurance. So let me go ahead and get right to the question here and to set it up, and then I'll address really there's a couple different circumstances about where and how you would address certain things, and what I'll try to do in this video is explain at each of those circumstances what type of strategy and tactic you should employ. So the agent's email is as follows. What is the best rebuttal for, in this case, Facebook leads, when the lead calls me up and tells me they want to see if they can get qualified for the free final expense program? So anytime, whether the lead is calling you, if there's like an inbound function there, or it's outbound where you're setting the appointment, what you've got to work on when you're dealing with rebuttals is to make sure that you don't necessarily hear or respond exactly to what they're saying. Because a lot of the times some people want the free insurance, okay? Some people are okay if it isn't. You know, they know there's probably some kind of catch. Maybe they think it's subsidized. They still have to pay something, but they get a good deal on it. So what you want to do is try to sidestep around that when you're placing a prospecting call or you're at the door with somebody. So how do you do that? I'll say, hey, a lot of people ask me about that. All I need is to take 5 minutes to show you how this works. This is totally different than anything else you've seen, and wondered if I could come over tomorrow at 10 or 2 would be better. So you notice with that rebuttal, I say, hey, that's 100% fine. A lot of people ask me about this. And I don't even really give them any kind of specific explanation. I just say, let me just show you how it works, and then you can decide if it's for you. And then I close for the appointment, right? Is 2 o'clock or 10 better? I believe on the phone, the best way to rebuttal that is basically a non-answer, okay? Because again, a lot of the times what people are saying, not all the time, because they'll ultimately not allow you if there's a condition and you're not satisfying it. But a lot of the times people say things that they don't mean, okay? Deep down, they don't want to meet with somebody who is a salesperson that's going to sell them something. They have resistance to buying, okay, or resistance to sales pressure, okay? I believe that's the undercurrent of a lot of what goes out there when you're calling and setting appointments or door knocking. So you have to use language that makes it easy to do the appointments, that makes it not a big deal, that there's no sweat, that there's no obligation. And a lot of that's dependent on the words that you use and then also how you sound to make it like it's not a big deal, to be really relaxed, casual about it. I think that goes a long way. And when you're making the prospecting call, try not to get into an argument or get defensive. That's the key thing, is just hear it as if, I thought this is an opportunity to explain it. You're obviously not saying that it's free. You're just saying, hey, it just takes me 5 minutes to explain what this is. And again, why do we want to set an appointment with somebody who thinks or possibly sounds like it's free? Well, first of all, they may still want it. Second of all, they may have a policy that you could possibly improve upon by replacing. And they otherwise wouldn't know about these opportunities if you had gotten defensive and explained it wasn't free and it's paid, and people start to get turned off immediately. Continuing on with this question, for some reason, every person who calls me that I call and meet face-to-face always mentions that they want free final expense insurance. So the other aspect to this is that when you're in the circumstance where a client in the home at a presentation says something along the lines of, hey, I thought this was free. Can you tell me more about how this free insurance works? What I personally believe you should do is nod, acknowledge, and continue with your presentation. So you don't want to, again, get sidetracked from your presentation in explaining that this thing is, look, you got to pay money for it. It's just like every other insurance program, because you're already setting yourself up in a different manner. And I think putting yourself on the defensive, making you weak, giving control to the prospect. Whereas what I think the better management, and this happens to me a lot in my sales presentations. I had a guy closed on a $60 a month AIG guaranteed issue deal a couple months ago. He's like, yeah, I was wondering how this free insurance deal works. And I said, yeah, that's cool. So what I'll do is I'll explain how it works, and so you'll know everything about it. So what were your thoughts and concerns when you sent the information in? Notice I didn't do anything too, detailed or specific about what the whole thing's about, how the details works, because it's pointless to do it at this point, because I mean, you don't know if they really are interested in you or not. They might be interested, but if you say the wrong things like this, you may shut down a lot of the opportunity. So I just say, hey, cool, we'll cover that. And then I go back onto my script, wherever it was that I was talking. What were your thoughts and concerns when you sent back the card? And I ended up closing the guy. He was totally happy. And in his case, what it turned out to be was he wanted a deal of it on his insurance. He had gotten an offer for it that was just way out of his price range. So, but if I had said this isn't free on the phone, what's the likelihood I would have gotten in? Because he would have been like, oh, you're full of crap. So again, a lot of this comes down to getting into the door and getting past those initial knee-jerk objections so that you can continue the process and see if there's an opportunity for it. I even had a lead, continuing on with this email, call me and ask when I should be at his house to give him his free final expense insurance. So again, what would you do? Say, hey, when are you going to show up so I can get this free insurance? I would say, hey, look, let me explain to you how it works. It just takes 5 minutes face-to-face. How about 2 o'clock or a 10 work better? Set the appointment. I'm telling you, set the appointment. Why? Not because, they're going to come up with money that they didn't have when they talked to you on the phone. If you get they might, maybe they see that it's a legit deal and you explain how free insurance with the government works. A 255 benefit is what I'm mentioning. But a lot of the times you may see sales opportunities. They have a Colonial Penn. They thought that was perfect. So again, there's a reason why people are interested in getting insurance. There's a need or a want of some various levels underlying that. That's why they would fill these cards out or Facebook leads or whatever. Continuing on, I tried to explain that the only thing free is the social. So when you're explaining on the phone, you're putting yourself on the defensive. You're answering his question. Remember, when we're on the phone, we control the questioning process. As soon as we give up control, the prospect takes over, right? And they start to tell you what they're going to do, which is eventually hang the phone up and not agree to an appointment. So you can't answer it. You can't answer the question is what it comes down to until you're in the sales presentation. I tried to explain to him that the only thing free is the Social Security benefit, and he started to call me a fraud over the phone and said that this ad was about free final expense insurance. So, yeah, that again, exactly. He read the ad wrong. And if you've been in final expense long enough, all these ads kind of sort of sound like they might be some free program. They don't outright say it's free. If it was, then eventually the DIY would catch up and sue your pants off. And but they all kind of sound like they're some supplemental program. And they use language like benefits, residents of Tennessee, blah, 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 state-regulated program, which do sound like they're official. And I don't like the language, but we have to include that stuff. Otherwise, response rates would average out a lead price of $60 to $80 a lead. I mean, it's that extreme sometimes. So we covered that. Let's see what else we're going to cover. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Is again to summarize here, when you're calling on the phone, answer the objection with the rebuttal of it just takes a few minutes to go over what you do with this information is up to you, and close for the appointment. Again, what we're trying to hear in that question, we want to hear something else, which is, hey, this isn't a big deal. Let me show you how it works. It's easy. It's not a big stressor or a big issue, that kind of thing. And then if we're in the home, then we need to sit down and just acknowledge it and continue with our presentation and address it at the appropriate time, which usually is later on in the sales call. So I hope this, guys, gives you some advice on how to handle is this free insurance objection. It does come up from time to time, and we do need to know how to be prepared to answer it. If you have any questions about this objection, or if you have an objection that you want to hear a rebuttal for that maybe you haven't seen on any of my videos, just leave a comment below. I don't mind making these videos to train on how to deal with them. These are all basic trainings that we need to get proficient at, because just because they think it's free doesn't mean that they're not buyers. You just have to keep with them long enough to discover that. David Duford at daviddufour.com. Join my agency. Go Go to daviddufour.com, click Join Dave's Agency at the top to learn more. All right, guys, bye.